Hey, John here with Amdahl Gallery. Today I'm comparing the Apple iPad Pro 12.9 inch with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S4. Now this probably seems like a strange comparison to make since the Tab S4 is actually the previous generation of Galaxy Tabs. They're on the S6 now, I think, skipped S5. So there's two reasons why I'm comparing these tablets. The first is that the S4 is just the one that I have. I bought it about a year ago and I've used it pretty extensively, so I can comment and speak to its performance and how it is to use it. The second is that I find myself caring a lot less about specs now. I tend to think more about my day-to-day use. Most of the high-end devices made by major companies now, I kind of expect are going to perform well, especially if it's the latest generation. With those things in mind, I'm going to run through a few categories, some things that are important to me when I compare devices, and sort of give you a pros and cons of each one. This is coming from the perspective of a long-time Android user. I haven't used an Apple product in probably 10 years, so this was my first experience coming back to iOS. So I'll kind of run that down for you and give you my impressions. Spoiler alert for the rest of the video, I actually love both devices, but there are some small things about each one that kind of might be useful for other people to know about. I bought the Tab S4 about a year prior to the iPad Pro. If you've seen some of the other videos on the channel, I'm a portrait drawing hobbyist and I had some lofty ideas about getting into digital art. My oldest daughter ended up using the Galaxy Tab for drawing a lot more than I did, but I did a few portraits before settling into using it more as an entertainment and consumption device. Both of these tablets have a good feel to them when drawing. The tips are a little bit different on the pens, but both are nice. The Apple Pencil is a bit better size. It's closer to an actual pencil in terms of how long it is. So it's a little easier to grip because of that. Feels a little more natural, but the Samsung pencil is not bad either. It's not too short. It's shorter, but not too bad. And the tips are different. You can see the Samsung has kind of a different material there. It's a little thinner. There's a little give to it, while the Apple Pencil has this. In terms of pencil storage, the iPad is a little better. It's magnetic. You see it just locks right on there. I haven't had too many problems knocking it off unless I'm holding the tablet by that edge. So it's a pretty elegant solution. I think the Galaxy Tabs do the same thing now, but I don't know where they do them. The solution at the time of the S4 was a little tab that has since broken off. It was here it is. A little tab attached to this, and it really doesn't stay very well. It falls off all the time, so that was not the best solution. So I ended up actually having to buy something on Amazon that was a little 3M adhesive with a loop that I could stick the pen through, and I also bought this little removable pen cap to sort of secure it because I didn't want to lose the pencil. And I may end up doing something similar with Apple with the iPad. I'm not sure if I will or not. The magnetic solution seems pretty solid. In terms of art apps though, the iPad is really the winner here. Procreate, which is iOS exclusive, is really good. I found it to be very easy to use. The app I used on the Samsung is pretty good too. It's Autodesk Sketchbook. My oldest actually uses it, so she's gotten pretty good at navigating it. Really the best thing the iPad Pro has going for it in terms of drawing though is the gigantic screen. The 12.9 inches really turns out to be a lot of extra real estate, and it really helps with drawing. When I bought the Galaxy Tab, I didn't have any real issues with the screen size. This is easy enough to hold. The quality of the screen is great, aside from the cracks you can probably see there from when I dropped it. But once I got my hands on the iPad Pro, the 12.9 inches, my view completely changed. It is now hard for me to go back to the smaller size screen. So I'm glad I did not buy the smaller size iPad Pro. I wouldn't have had the same revelation about all this extra room. And somehow this iPad Pro does not feel too bulky, even with the larger screen. Obviously this is a personal preference, but when I hold it, it's really not bad. I can still use it in tablet mode, which I do a lot. I find that I do have to take this pencil off because it kind of interferes with the way I like to hold it. But otherwise, you know, it's pretty comfortable. So holding it like this is not a big deal. When it's in my lap, you know, the screen size is not bad in terms of holding it and managing it. They have pretty good viewing angles. I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, but let's see if I can kind of turn them. The viewing angles are really good. So the quality of panels that both tablets use is great. So I have no complaints there. Another bonus that comes with having a larger screen is the keyboard size. So I bought the manufacturer first-party keyboard cases for each one of them, and mostly because I love on the Samsung at least, it's this pin connection. You don't have to charge the keyboard, you don't have to connect it via Bluetooth. I just like the simplicity of that first party connection. As I was saying, the bonus of this larger screen size is it is a full-size keyboard. So I'm not sure if I can really, like, you can see that with the Samsung and with the smaller iPad Pro, they have to kind of put the keys closer together to make it work. So, you know, that's just part of the size. But here you got a full-size keyboard, and it fits your hands really well. So the typing experience is really good. And what's impressive about this larger iPad keyboard is that it's pretty light. I don't have a scale to actually weigh these, but in their cases, each device feels about the same in terms of weight. And even though this iPad keyboard case is lighter and thinner, it really is not flimsy. There's no give to it, or there's little give to it. Like you can hold it with one hand, and the case doesn't distort or get out of shape. And that, you know, that's true for the Samsung one too. It's sturdy, not flimsy. So they're both really excellent quality cases in my opinion. In terms of typing, both keyboard cases are pretty solid. The Galaxy Tab case has a good feel to it. Nice spring. Feels nice to type. So I really don't have any complaints about it. The iPad Pro, the keys have a nice clickiness to them. I don't know if you can hear that. So they both feel nice to type. The thing that I really like, aside from the size, with this iPad Pro one is there's no space. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's no space between the keys. This is solid. So I'm pretty clumsy, and if I accidentally spill a drink on this, I would feel a little better about the ability to clean this up, because the water or coffee or whatever would not get down inside the keys. It's not really true here. If I spilled something, I think I would have some problems because there is a gap there. Now I'm going to talk about the operating system, user interface, and apps. It's been more than 10 years since I've used an Apple device, so I knew coming into this there would be a learning curve and some surprises along the way. I also knew I might have to spend a bit of money to rebuy some apps. So at this point, most of the big apps are on both platforms. There are exceptions though that are iOS exclusive, and until now I've pretty much ignored that they existed. But now that I've been exploring this iPad, there are some powerful apps that I'm a bit sad that I missed out on for so long. Some of these exclusive top-tier apps seem more robust and well-designed than similar Android options. They're just effective and easy to use, like Procreate, which I already showed you, Notability, which is a note-taking app, and in the case of iMovie on iOS, I'm really not sure how I could have edited YouTube videos on Android. I haven't seen something similar that is as user-friendly and effective at editing videos. I'm not a video editing expert, so maybe something similar does exist on Android that I've just never heard of, but I do know that iMovie is really nice to use. On the other hand, apps seem generally more expensive on iOS. As awesome as Procreate and Notability are, I was a little surprised at how expensive they were. It's not uncommon to see apps for $10 on the iOS store. I even saw a video editing app that was $30, and I don't recall ever seeing something that expensive on the Android App Store. Prior to buying this iPad, I read that over the last couple of major operating system versions, Apple had improved the iPad's ability to function as an actual computer. So far, my impression is that the file system still needs work. Like I said, it's apparently better than it used to be, but there are still some weird things, like quickly seeing how many gigabytes of stuff is in a folder in the file manager. See, I would have expected it to be there to show me how big is this folder, but I don't see it, and that's kind of an important thing. Or when I want to copy images in, they aren't recognized immediately as images in the photo gallery. For example, when I copy something from a USB drive, I have to manually save as image from the Files app, this app that I'm in now, for each one. It's kind of weird. I also wish there was more flexibility in arranging icons on the home screen. It's frustrating that I can't leave empty app spaces. I'm used to this configuration where I can click on something and I can move it wherever I want. I like that. Here, everything lines up and is pushed this way. So I couldn't bunch some similar apps down in the corner or anything like that. So that's, I guess, just an iOS thing that I have to get used to, which is fine, but it would be nice if that capability existed. I will add a caveat though. Maybe this is just a user knowledge issue and there are still tricks I need to learn. That's highly possible. How the Galaxy Tab handles files is probably the biggest area where it trumps the iPad for me right now. With the Galaxy, no matter how I brought in images, videos, or audio files, the device could always figure out what they were and make them available in the appropriate app. So I could open a photo gallery app, or I could open the Files app and just find what I'm looking for. Using it to move files around just works in a way that the iPad doesn't right now, at least for me. Hopefully that's something Apple continues to improve on with updates. So a few other miscellaneous things I haven't discussed yet. I have the Wi-Fi versions of each of these. The battery life is excellent on both devices. I can use either one literally all day without any issues. I've been very satisfied with both of these devices on that. Also, I mentioned before, I don't worry about specs as much anymore, and the performance of both of these is why. There's been no stuttering, no processing hiccups with either one, so there's no issues there either. So in conclusion, both of these tablets are great products. Galaxy Tab is even one generation old and it's still a very strong device. But having used both now, if I were to choose between a brand new version of each, I would pick this large iPad Pro. That's true despite being a decade-long Android guy. I just can't overlook how much I love the big screen and some of the incredibly useful exclusive apps like iMovie and the others that I mentioned. I'm still an Android guy for my phone though, but in terms of tablet, iPad Pro has completely won me over. I guess now I'm going to have to be completely split on my devices: PC for computing, Android for smartphone, and Apple for tablet. Well, that does it for this video. If anyone wants to discuss their own experiences switching between iOS and Android, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.